Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. And who cares about an intro? Kyle, oh my God, the Jets have won a football game.
Yeah, I think, we're going to talk about it. I think the thing that was so weird is that it didn't look fluky. Like, it wasn't like, besides, the Jets actually winning, like they outcoached and outplayed the Rams. It was just a crazy game. Unbelievable.
Yeah. You know what? I'm just going to decide to do this right now. Let's just audible. Let's just start there. Let's not bury the lead. The Jets have won a game. Usually we start with the Sunday night game. We'll get it second. Let's start with the Jets. They've won a game. And to me, I know there's the whole Trevor Lawrence thing. I just think this is such a cool story, right? Like all the Jets players, how frustrating this season must have been. They had the win against the Raiders, blew it at the end, going up against a Super Bowl contender, a legit team, and come out of the gate. They find a way to win this one. I thought Quinion Williams was awesome when he was playing. He eventually went down later in it, really getting pressure up the middle. I also thought Nathan Shepard had a great game. And this is a victory. And yes, it was, like you lose Trevor Lawrence, all of that. But for the people in the organization, for Adam Gase, for the players, they have to just feel great that they're not on the list. There's 2 0-16 teams, and they're not one of them.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's a great thing for the guys on the team. I feel, that defensive line was very good in this one. I also wanted to give a shout out to Bryce Hall in this one, the cornerback who made the fantastic interception. He was the guy who probably would have been a first or second round pick in the draft last year, had a major ankle injury that required surgery, missed the end of his season with Virginia, which was, he was the best player on Virginia, and Virginia had a fantastic year, and then he got hurt. Missed the rest of the season after that, was able to come back. He started playing, I think, week 9 this year after finally coming back from that injury. Makes a great play on that ball. So it was great to see him get back into it. And yeah, I mean, we had a couple Rams fans on here already. This Goff thing is now a problem, right?
I don't know. Well, first, thank you to Victor in the chat for the super chat. We always appreciate that. I don't know. I mean, I'll get into that in a second. I want to talk more good about the Jets, and then we'll get into that. I want to talk about Frank Gore for a second. And I know I'm ignoring your question, but Frank Gore had the best 2.6 yard per carry day you will ever see a running back have. I thought that he had some really big runs. And at the end, getting the first down, he doesn't want to go out that way. He doesn't want to go out with an 0-16 season. He's probably a Hall of Famer. And to see him get the win, I thought that he was the most excited out of any of them to just sort of wipe the sweat off his brows and say, we got one. We're not 0-16.
Yeah. And, some of the guys made some great plays. I thought Darnold was actually really good in this one. Mm-hmm. The 70% completion percentage. I don't know. Like, they beat apart this Rams defense, who we were just talking about like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, is one of the best in the league. And just such an odd, like, I don't even know how to explain it. The Rams just did not show up this week. I couldn't understand it at all. The Jets, I thought, just did a fantastic job of playing aggressive and taking it to them, and they ended up coming out on top. They didn't play like an awesome game, but they outplayed the team that was across from them.
Well, yeah, I thought that Darnold's mobility was a big factor in this one, even though he never had a rush, or he did have rushes. He had 15 yards of rushes, but it's more about just him being able to extend plays that did well. Their offensive line shut down Aaron Donald for the most part. This was an incredible day for them. And okay, let's now talk negatives. I wanted to give the Jets the deserved credit. Yeah, this. I didn't think it was a horrible day from Goff, to be honest, but I actually thought this is just I think this is a big black mark on Greg Williams. I think that's what this is, because I think that this defense, when they can actually play zone and aren't blitzing every play, that's actually what this defense does better, and they're a better defense than I think they have been all season.
Yeah. No, I mean, when your defensive line plays that well, you don't have to worry about blitzing. Now, have they played that to that level all season? Probably not. But when they're able to show up, we've been talking about what's going to unlock Quinnen Williams for, it feels like 10 years, but he's only been in the league like 2 or 3 years now at this point. He finally showed up and had a big game in this one. And Yeah, if your defensive line's going to play that well, and then some of the guys at the back there, I mentioned Hall, Marcus May, I thought also had a really good game. If some of those guys at the back are going to make big plays too, it also helps. But yeah, I mean, Greg Williams is never getting a job again. He just should
Yeah,
not.
no, not even a defensive backs coach job or anything. No, he's done. Not to speak ill of people, but for Greg Williams, I think I'm okay with saying, yeah, probably for the best of the league.
Yeah, yeah, definitely for the best.
Yeah,
Um,
I want to talk. I want to talk about the big negative I would have would be Sean McVay because, and this wasn't Sean McVay. This was Goff. Let's talk about the end scenario. It was a 3rd down and 4. Their first play, they have a pick play designed to throw to their running back Cam Akers. The second play, they're throwing the ball against Marcus May, who is obviously probably the Jets' best player. I thought that was a mistake. I thought that, and I think part of it is Goff. Goff had Cooper Kupp wide open, instead chooses to try and throw it it was Hewitt, I believe, Hewitt's the Jets player. What am I talking about? It was Everett. That's the player I'm talking about. Yeah, and he throws it there. May makes the play because May's good, and I think that was a mistake. I think you got to throw it to Kupp there. I think there was. The Rams have plenty to watch on tape and say, what the hell were we thinking?
Yeah, maybe he just saw the matchup on the outside, had his big tight end out there. Maybe he felt like he could throw it to him. But at the same time, like, you could also easily say he panicked when he just needed 5 yards. There's no point in throwing it deep downfield on that play. He has to look for the underneath route and just get the 5 yards and then worry about taking your shots afterwards. They had plenty of time in this game. There was still, 4 minutes remaining at that point? So tough play on that part. I mean, I put blame on both these guys, honestly. We've seen this with McVay where he has just these games where it's like, okay, your offense is figured out. How are you adjusting? And he doesn't adjust. And we've seen games from Goff where he's forcing these throws. He's making bad decisions. And, I've said it before. It's almost a week-to-week thing with him. He'll look really confident against a team like the Bears, and then he'll play a team like this, and it's like we were saying, he might panic at the end of the game trying to force a throw downfield.
Yeah, Moochie Studio, the great Moochie Studio, back in the chat. Always great to have Moochie Studio here. Says Mekhi Becton has been a stuff. So agreed. Great, big stuff from Mekhi Becton. He one more thing about it was a decision. I thought it was the correct decision. 4th and 4. The Rams decided to go for it. Could have kicked a 55-yard field goal to tie it, but I think it was the right call to go for it there.
Haven't they had kicking issues all year? So 55-yard field goal seems tough. So
and there was 4 minutes left. Yes, again, also the great Eli Mullen, Adam Gase is fire. Let's end there. Does Adam Gase have a job next year? And I'm not talking head coaching job. That's out of the question. But does he have? Is there? I say now. I'm going to say this: non-zero chance he has an offensive coordinator job next year.
I don't know about offensive coordinator. Maybe like a quarterback or like an assistant.
He's outcoached Paul Gunther. Now the Rams, who have been the best coach defense in football, one of the best coach defenses in football. I don't know. Maybe give him an interview.
I don't know. I mean, I guess white football coach, he's probably going to have an opportunity somewhere, but who knows?
Probably another. He'll be a head coach next year. Let's be honest.
Exactly. Yeah, Eric the enemy is going to be rejected for Gase again.
Exactly. All right.
So, did you see the weird thing about this too, where the Jets are below the Jaguars in the standings, but they're still 16th in the standings, but the Jaguars get the first pick because it's different tiebreakers?
Yeah, no, it's a very. I like how the NFL tiebreakers they it's almost like they go out of their way to make it more confusing.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think their conference record has them 16th in the AFC, but because strength of schedule is the tiebreaker for the draft, they get the number 2 pick. Just wild.
Yes, that's also what are just speaking of wild stats, the fact that the Jets currently have they've scored on their first possession in 8 straight games, which is more than it's the longest record out of any team in the NFL, and it's the franchise record for the Jets. Like that's just another one. Is like, how the hell has that happened?
Yeah, I don't know. They don't score after, it seems like. Hey, they're able to get it done though, so Kudos to the Jets.
Yeah, and everyone's complaining about the Trevor Lawrence thing. I don't know. The draft, I understand it, but at the same time, it's like, to me, I'm just not interested in tanking. I'm not interested in that kind of stuff. I think I more care about the players and the fact that all those
Mhm.
players can just not go 0-16. I think that obviously they want their first pick now, but the avoiding the 0-16 is the real thing here.
Yeah, I'll touch on this quickly because I'm definitely more of the college guy compared to you. Because I don't know. I think people are I think people are trying to jump off the Justin Fields bandwagon a little too quick because he didn't look good in that Big Ten championship. That Northwestern defense is also top 6 in the NCAA right now. I mean, that Northwestern defense is pretty nasty, and he's had more games where he's looked really good compared to look really bad in that Northwestern game. That I think he's going to be fine. I think the one thing that they should consider is, you don't have to trade Sam Darnold.
Mhm.
You don't have to trade him for a third round pick or a fourth round pick or whatever. I mean, if he gets a second or first, I would consider trading him. But for like a mid round pick, like you can keep Darnold and have him and Fields go head to head. So I mean, it's up in the air. I'm still on the Fields bandwagon. I do think that there is I mean, he's not far off Lawrence for me, but I do think there is a discrepancy. But I'm still on the Fields bandwagon, even with the bad game.
Yeah, I mean, and my take on it is, again, you're the college guy, I'm not. My take on it is always like Trevor Lawrence is great. Trevor Lawrence, all of the best prospects that come out of the draft, almost never live up to the hype, and I almost feel bad for Lawrence in a sense because unless he's a Hall of Famer, he's gonna get criticized. It's like people talk about like Andrew Luck, how hyped up he was. Andrew Luck ended up being a fine player, but he was, at best a fringe top 5 guy. It's not that's always enough to change. Andrew Luck never won a championship, so I'd rather have a good head coach than a good quarterback. And while yes, it's not great. At the end of the day, people keep saying the Jets screwed up tanking. Well, the Jets players and the Jets coaches weren't trying to tank. So
Yeah.
It's two completely different. The fans maybe wanted it, and that's also why I feel great for the Jets because even their fans want them to lose, and no one wanted them to win except for the guys in that clubhouse. So I think it's cool for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody wants to be 0-16. That really just sucks. And the Jaguars could still win a game. So who knows? Still 2
Yeah,
weeks left.
yeah, plenty of time left. All right, let's move on. We went long on that, but I think rightfully so. We will now go to the Sunday night game. Your guy, Baker Mayfield, he's looking good.
Yeah, he's playing with so much confidence right now that it's just carrying over into the team. But I've been on the Kevin Stefanski hype train since probably March, and I'm going to continue to say it. The one thing I love about Kevin Stefanski is it doesn't matter what the game is. That the Browns could be favored by 100 points. He's going to play the same exact style. He's not going to put Baker in a position where he's uncomfortable. He's not going to put his offense in a position where it doesn't do what it does best. Even when they weren't running the football well very early in the game, he found ways to run the football in this game. He found ways to get Baker comfortable in play action and doing what Baker does best. He didn't try and do anything different. I mean, they had what, 4 possessions in the first half? 3 possessions in the first half, excuse me, and got 2 touchdowns and a turnover on downs in Giant territory. They had 4 possessions in the second half. They didn't have a very good performance in the second half, but this is a team in the Browns that it doesn't matter who they play. They're going to continue to play their style in their way, which is, a typical offense with the way the Browns are playing probably scores 40 in this game, but they're content with winning this game 20-6 because this is how they play football and this is how they win games.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought that I thought Nick Chubb, again. I said Frank Gore had the best 2.6 yards per carry game. I thought Nick Chubb had one of the best 3.3 yards per carry games because I thought that he looked great at. I couldn't when I saw the stats. I'm like, how is that possible? He had a few more yards receiving, but yeah, I thought that the running game was good even without Wyatt Teller, which it is a big blow. He's been one of the best guards in the league for them. Had trouble staying healthy this year though, and I locked up the Browns in our picks. I got worried once Freddie Kitchens was announced to be the play caller with some sort of twist of fate. Not just that, but now Colt McCoy is quarterback, and you have Jabril Peppers, you have Dexter Lawrence, who were Lawrence was the pick, and Jabril Peppers was a player traded into Odell Beckham. This was the revenge game of all revenge games. This was the ghost of Cleveland Browns past, and it definitely wasn't enough. The Browns just looked like a far better team, even though the Giants did have their chances.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they are a little bit playing with fire by kind of shrinking all these games. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, their defense made enough plays. They got enough stops when they needed to. They held the Giants to 5.3 yards per play. And they had a 9-minute possession advantage, time of possession advantage. They just at the end of the day, they just completely sucked the life out of this game. And that was enough to do it. And then, if Baker Mayfield's going to play with this much confidence, my favorite play was the second touchdown pass to Landry, where David Njoku is basically in the front of the end zone with like 10 yards of space. He has nobody around him for 10 yards. He throws it over him to Landry,
Yeah.
who's like perfectly covered, and it's still a touchdown anyway. Baker's just playing with so much confidence right now. Just awesome.
Yeah, I remember that. That was and another thing, I mean, the key stat that jumps out to me is 9 for 13 in third downs. I mean, you're not going to lose many games doing that if you're the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. No, they looked the part. They're going to be a frisky wildcard team, I think. This is going to be fun to see.
Yeah, I mean, they're, and we'll get to Baltimore in a second, but I feel like both of those two teams, it's like, I don't feel comfortable betting against either of those two teams.
Yeah. No, I agree. And, I did say frisky wildcard team. They still can win the division, I believe. So there's that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, little work to do. And for the Giants, I mean, it's a rebuilding year for the Giants. I think you got to say that. Colt McCoy doesn't appear to be the answer. I thought their offensive line actually played pretty well. Maybe the one concern for Cleveland is we're not really seeing Myles Garrett past. It looks like the COVID thing maybe we have seen guys get slow to return after COVID. Maybe that's a concern. I think that's probably the biggest concern for Cleveland. The Giants' offensive line did probably win some of those battles, even though they only scored 6 points.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, we'll see how that develops. Hopefully Garrett's ready to go for playoff time. I think that's the most important thing right now for them. Yeah, I mean, the Giants, I do feel like they're kind of in the same boat. Them and Washington, I feel like, are kind of in the same boat where they're almost just playing with house money. If they win the division and make the playoffs, great. But at the same time, like, it's not the end of the world. This team wasn't supposed to make the playoffs. They have good pieces. They just need to build around it.
Yeah. I think still a good season for the Giants. Great season for Cleveland. Very fun to see. Baker's good, man. Baker's good. Like he's all of a sudden become like he was the most frustrating quarterback to watch last year. He's been one of the most fun quarterbacks to watch this year.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, when he's playing with confident Baker, it's really hard to stop. He's not always going to play like this, but when he's on this streak, it's hard to bet against him right now.
Yeah, agreed. Speaking of someone hard to bet against, how about that for a transition? That's why they pay me the big bucks here on YouTube. How about Tom Brady? Unreal. I mean, to me, here's what happened. And sometimes when you see these big comebacks, it's hard to really figure out exactly what happened. Like, I think there's certain times when it's just the offense just executed better in the second half and that just happens. To me, there was a clear coaching shift. And this might seem like a weird thing to say, but I think Leonard Fournette was the MVP of this game. And I know he only had 3.5 yards per carry and didn't really run the ball too well. For one thing, 2 of those carries ended up in touchdowns, so that helps. But I thought that his ability to pick up blitzes in the second half, it's the first time all season I've seen a halfback do a good job at picking up blitzes to the point where I'm willing to say that I think Leonard Fournette should be the running back number 1 simply for that. And I wouldn't be surprised if Fournette sort of said, okay, I'm struggling to get playing time, but what's something that this team needs? Someone who can pick up blitzes? Well, I'm going to practice at that. I'm going to get good at that. And he was good at it in this game. And that was the key for the second half, was really Brady and Fournette's communication, protecting Brady. And that's, nullified the blitz. And the reality is, if you're rushing 4 and you're trying to play coverage against Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Cameron Brate, Rob Gronkowski, good luck.
Yeah. No, really, it was good luck. And, he only got sacked 3 times, but 2 of those were on third down plays in the first half. And it just seemed like every time in the first half, they were stuck with a third down and long play. And, they just started getting ahead of the sticks. And just an awesome game from Brady in that second half, scoring, 5 straight possessions. I mean, this is everything we wanted to see out of Tampa here in that second half. They completely shut down Atlanta. They come alive on offense, and they're just eviscerating this team. Atlanta has no shot in the second half. And listen, Tom Brady owns the Falcons. It's,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, there's no other way around it.
Yeah. Poor Matt Ryan. He probably if Matt Ryan were to like jump Tom Brady in the streets, I think I would say like fair enough.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. I mean, you can't blame him at this point. Yeah, it's just completely awful break for them. I think another problem is they still can't run the ball. They couldn't close this game out because they couldn't run the ball. And you mentioned, is Julio Jones going to get 150 yards in this game? Well, Calvin Ridley did,
Yeah.
but it still wasn't enough. I mean,
And Julio
I
didn't
mean,
play, so that's why.
I guess, as a fan's perspective, where are you at with this team? You probably look at this first half like, oh my God, this is disgusting. This team should easily end this season 11-5, and it's looking terrible. To now it's 9-5, and you're looking awesome.
Yeah. Real quick, one thing. Eli Mullen said wasn't Ronald Jones out. I should have mentioned that. Yes, Ronald Jones was out, which is why we saw more Fournette playing time. But yeah, in this first half, this was a weird game because the first half, I was fed up with Bruce Arians as much as I have been all season because the blitz protection still wasn't working. They were still running on first downs, every single first down, which they love to do, even though that's one of those analytic things that you shouldn't do. But of course, Bruce Arians wouldn't know that because the Buccaneers still don't have an analytics department. And so I was just getting fed up. I thought their defense couldn't stop anything. There was one incredible play by Antoine Winfield, who is my pick for defensive rookie of the year. He won't win it because everyone wants to feel good about their saying that Chase Young was great with the number 2 overall pick. But in the second half, everything I was complaining about, they stopped. They started running play actions on first down, and they started blitz protecting, like I said, with Fournette. And one of the things that it's so true is if you just have Brady drop back 3 times, what are the odds that a team is going to be able to stop this receiving core 3 straight plays? Like, forget about running the ball. Just throw the football. This is the most just throw the football team I've ever seen in my life where, yeah, you want to be able to establish the running game to some degree, but no team can stop this receiving core. Just throw the football.
Yeah. No, I agree. And also I kind of got away from this after early in the season. I would think I said it just about every week through like the first 6 weeks. Now I'm going to get back to it. Devin White's really good at football. I wish there was 32 Devin Whites in the league so every team could have him. He's really fun to watch. So he's really good at football. I think he's the best linebacker in the league. I'm just going to say it. Best linebacker in the league, Devin White.
Yeah, I thought that, they struggled to get pressure early on, which isn't great for the top front 4. You want to be able to get pressure against this Atlanta defense. But the way they got pressure was by blitzing Devin White, who had 3 sacks in this game. So that's what he's incredible. He still needs to work on his coverage, but everything else he does, I remember when he got drafted, I kind of complained about, felt like we were getting kind of a slightly better version of Quan Alexander. And to some degree, that's been the case, but I think he's just a much better version of that, where he can blitz so well, he can run stop so well. Still needs to work on the coverage game, but yeah, I mean, when you get 3 sacks, you can give up a couple plays over the middle.
Yeah, exactly. And he's just so athletic in that position. There's a lot of good linebackers coming up in the league right now. He might be the best one. Just so fun to watch week in and week out with that athleticism.
Yeah, and they give Atlanta some credit. I thought their defense had a good game plan to start off. Didn't work out at the end because Tampa Bay made adjustments, but I thought they had a good game plan. And I also thought Matt Ryan, when he's not pressured, he can play well. And I also think this one weird narrative is that Matt Ryan is a statue back there. He's not a statue. He is a pocket quarterback, but he can move a little bit, and he did that in this game.
Yeah. No, I thought they came out really well. They were up 17-0, at the half. And they did a good job of getting pressure on Brady when they needed to. They did a good job of throwing the ball downfield. And being aggressive on these corners early. It just wasn't enough.
Yes. Also, final thought before we go on. Luis says, I like Brady, but Tampa is so inconsistent. I really don't know what to expect. I kind of just feel like if they can blitz protect, they look great, and if they can't, they look terrible.
Yeah, because you mentioned Matt Ryan's a statue. Brady's a statue.
Yeah.
He's 43. He's not going to move around too much, and he was a guy even at his best, like the clean pocket. I hate that almost because every quarterback would prefer a clean pocket, but he was a guy who particularly if you pass rushed him up the middle, that was the big thing on Brady. If you able to blitz him up the middle, he's not going to do too much. And even at 43 now, that's especially prevalent. You got to give him a clean pocket, and then he'll be one of the best in the league.
Yeah, so we'll see. Again, baby steps for this Tampa Bay offense, but optimistic, I think. Although who knows if they just have enough time left in the season. Speaking of if they have enough time, the Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings running out of games to play. Vikings lost, and again, incredible transition. I'm at the top of my game here. The Bears, Mitchell Trubisky, his win loss record is incredible. His tape is not, but he's winning football games.
I don't think he was actually atrocious in this game. He wasn't great, but at the same time, he threw the ball 21 times and completed a high percentage of them and made the plays when he needed to. Obviously, they went to Montgomery when it mattered most, but this guy is playing really good football. It's like this offense was a train wreck. He comes back in and all of a sudden come alive here. Credit Trubisky, man. He's getting it done. This team's battling for a playoff spot. They got to catch Arizona, but they're right there.
Yeah, and I think Trubisky is the kind of guy where obviously he wasn't worth a second overall pick. He's not a terrible quarterback either. He's just probably not a. I don't think he's a starter. Or at least he's not a top 20 quarterback. No one's going to argue that. I thought that Matt Nagy actually had a really good game plan in this one, keeping things away from the middle, letting Mitchell Trubisky move outside the pocket. A lot of things were outside the numbers in this. It's actually kind of similar to what Minnesota did. They just did it better. And while I do think the score was close, I think the Bears defense showed up at key points. Minnesota, they had their moments. I thought that when Kirk Cousins, they made a shift to just sort of have Kirk Cousins sort of drop back and throw. And I actually thought they did a better job when they did that. Instead of relying on Cook, who still had 130 yards, they let Kirk cook to a bit of a degree. But I still think that I think the Bears were a better team in this one. I think their defense is better, and I think that with Mitchell Trubisky, they're still in the hunt.
Yeah, and the big thing with Trubisky is, he's obviously not going to be an All-Pro anytime soon, but I think the difference you've seen between him and Foles is he has the ability to not take sacks behind a pretty bad offensive line still. I think they took one sack, today, and that's because he can extend plays with his legs. He also had 34 rushing yards. And, being able to extend plays too allowed them to convert on third downs. This is the worst third down team in the league. He converted 6 of 12 on third down plays. I'm giving him credit. I think he's done a really good job. So I'm giving Mitch a lot of credit for this. He's turned this team around and righted the ship.
Yeah, and we also got to talk about David Montgomery, who he got 146 yards, and he had it the hard way. He had to carry the ball 32 times to do it. And I thought Allen Robinson as well. He only had 4 catches, but he had some big plays in this one. The players that you want to see come through came through for Chicago, and they still do have a shot at this playoffs, although they really have to beat Jacksonville and Green Bay to do it.
Yeah, the Packers game could be a toss-up, especially, good thing for them is the Saints and the Rams both lost, so now they could be in a position where there's not much for the Packers to play for there. But they need the Arizona Cardinals to lose still, obviously. I don't know who owns the tiebreaker in that one. I guess it's down to conference record, right?
I'm not sure. You're pretty much. I'm not sure who has it. Usually I use the NFL playoff machine, but I didn't check that. I'm convinced the Cardinals are going to make the playoffs, but.
Yeah, they play the Cardinals still play. They play the 49ers next week. They should win that, and that will wrap it up. But hey, the Bears have put themselves in a position to battle back, so I give them credit for that, even though it might come up just short.
Yeah, and it shows that, again, when we talk about which head coaches that would want a job, I do think that it's not the worst job in the world, especially if you're an offensive-minded coach who feels like you can work some magic on offense, maybe get a quarterback in the offseason. They still do have a good defense. Let's talk about the Vikings for a second. Can we accept that I was right about the Vikings now?
I don't think anyone besides upset Vikings fans thought you were wrong. I thought they were good.
People very upset when I said that the Vikings were mediocre.
The only thing I said was that their offense is pretty good. And, it played really well again in this one. They can move the ball. But they still don't have any corners to defend anybody. They still have a lot of missing pieces on this defense. It's been a rough year for Mike Zimmer in that defense, but they can still move the ball.
Yeah. So yes, I was right. We all agree. We can move on now.
Oh,
All right.
jeez.
Let's move on. Let's talk. How about Chiefs Saints? This was, I feel like, a very lopsided 3-point victory for the Chiefs.
Yes. Drew Brees was not good in this game, coming back and probably playing through injury. He turned it around in the second half, but the first half he was just ugly. But, they did the right thing, as every team should when they play the Chiefs. I don't care if you're, you know, 14-2 playing the Chiefs. Every team that plays the Chiefs should just plan to keep them off the field as much as possible on offense. And that's exactly what the Saints did. I think the time of possession was 41-18. So just an absurd time of possession. But yeah, every team that
Well,
plays the Chiefs, doesn't matter how good you are, should plan to keep them off the field as much as possible, because that's what you would need to do against this team. And I thought the Chiefs came out sort of sluggish, but they were clearly the better team.
wait, let me check your. The stat I have says that the Chiefs were the ones with 41 minutes of possession. Is that right?
Oh wait, I had it backwards. Oh,
Yeah,
my bad.
yeah, yeah. So they did not do it well. They did a terrible job.
No,
Awful.
they did not.
Yeah. No. Right. No. I know what you mean though. It did seem like there was sort of a mindset of let's try and kill as much clock as possible. Just they didn't have run as many plays as the Kansas City
Yeah.
Chiefs did. So that was I mean, the play count was 92 plays for Kansas City to 52 for New Orleans, and so that's really the difference. And as much as you try to keep the Chiefs off the field, they score so quickly, right? I remember in the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's intro to the Chiefs. I believe he said by the time it took you to get the pizza guy at the door, they've already scored another touchdown. Like, they score immediately, and their offense is lethal, even when it's kind of had a slow day. But again, I feel like we keep doing this with the Chiefs. They look awesome in one-score victories. They've now had 6 straight one-score victories. They've been good. They haven't been dominant. And I do still feel like, again, obviously, Patrick Mahomes is awesome. The Chiefs are offense. Clyde Edwards-Helaire got hurt in this one. I hope he's all right. But there is maybe some concern of, hey, if you do this in the playoffs, if you try to come back from double-digit deficits in the playoffs every game, eventually one could not go your way. And I still take the field over Kansas City at this point. If I feel like there's a less than 50% chance the Chiefs win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. I mean, it's
They're
just a
still the
weird thing.
favorites.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in this game they were up 14-0. They jumped the Saints to begin this game and then fell down 15-14 because of, they had the safety that, made it 14-9. And just, I don't know, man. Yeah, I'm with you. It's just like they continue to be kind of complacent in a lot of these games, and you can't get away with that. Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying here. And then, but on the Saints side, you can't complete 15 of 34 passes and expect to be this close in this game next time around, which would be the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and also Alex Alonso. I know he has the great hair. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. Gotta get that touchdown. Can't let that be a safety. Gotta come up with it. You're gonna gotta beat if you want to beat the Chiefs. Gotta take advantage of those opportunities.
No, yeah, I agree. You got to be able to get that ball. Tough break, but at the same time, like you said, you need that play.
Yeah, and on the flip side, Demarcus Robinson, you can't fumble that ball. You just go down. There's like 8 seconds left in the half.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was just a weird play. It was, this game did get a little weird to me in the middle of it, but at the same time, like even with the Saints ahead, did you feel like the Chiefs were going to lose this?
No, and I felt that way about all these games, right? I mean, like, let's go back and let's look at the thing I talked about. Beat the Saints by 1 score. I felt like they were going to win the whole time. Beat the Dolphins by 1 score. I felt like they were going to win the whole time. Beat the Chiefs or beat the Broncos by 1 score. I felt like they were going to win the whole time. Beat the Buccaneers, same thing. The Raiders by 1 score, same thing. The Panthers, same thing. So I keep feeling like this is clearly a better team that's almost playing down to their competition. You know how the Steelers play down to their competition when they play bad teams? I feel like the Chiefs play down to their competition when they play great teams because they're that much better.
Yeah, everyone's down to their competition.
Yeah.
To their own perspective of competition. But, they're still winning. And, as the defending champs, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. But if it bites them in the ass in the playoffs, they're going to understand why, because they keep doing this.
Yeah, and I mean, on the flip side for the Saints, it's like Breeze didn't, I think, play great. I thought he picked it up in the second half, but I also he's playing on, he doesn't look. I'm not sure how healthy he is because I think they wanted to win. Also, Michael Thomas wasn't there, and they missed Michael Thomas. They had a lot of injuries in the for their receiving core, and I think this might be a different game with Michael Thomas in there. He's been in and out of the lineup all season. And I think that this is a Saints team that hasn't been healthy all year. So you did almost beat the Chiefs, 3-point game, despite like still not being healthy.
Yeah. So if I guess my question is, if Thomas isn't ready to go for the playoffs, is this the team you're picking to make the Super Bowl still?
So in the NFC right now, I mean, if the Packers have the 1 seed, I'm picking the Packers. I'm picking who has the 1 seed. Like that's the odds are so much in that team's favor. If you have the 1 seed, you have a bye, you're probably going to make the playoffs. But if the Saints were to somehow get the bye but not have Michael Thomas, I would pick the Saints still.
Yeah, it's just so weird. This playoffs is going to be so weird because I'm telling, like, every team I see, whether it's the Rams, the Buccaneers, the Seahawks, the Saints. Yeah, I mean, all 4 of those teams I feel like could lose in the first round or make the Super Bowl, and I wouldn't be surprised either way.
There's no team that jumps out at me like that's a Super Bowl. Like last year, it was San Francisco and Baltimore and Kansas City to a lesser degree. Like those were like the 3. It was really, honestly, it was San Francisco and it was Baltimore were the 2 like that were like, okay, those are championship teams. Even the Chiefs, they kind of weirdly don't feel like a Super Bowl championship type team this season because they keep winning in these close games. But they keep winning, so I mean, they're clearly the favorites. But there's no other team that I'm like, that feels like a Super Bowl winner.
Yeah. No, I agree with that completely. It's as weird as 2020 has been, this NFL season's been weird.
Yeah. You know how when the Panthers were like 13-0, everyone kept saying they're the worst 13-0 team ever? Like that was the media narrative. I think that's the Chiefs right now. The Chiefs are the worst 13-1 team ever.
Yeah.
In terms of the narrative, like I'm just saying, like that's how it feels, but like you're 13-1. You're amazing. So yeah, let's move on. All right, let's talk. I debated right now in my mind playing taps through my mouth, pretending to play taps. This song that they play after a fallen soldier. The Patriots. It was a hell of a run. It's over. How are you feeling, Kyle?
11 years. That was tough to finally see it come to a close. Listen, I mean, I think anyone who's listened to this, even as a Patriots fan, I think I've been very honest of what this team is. And I've been very honest about the outlook of this team throughout the season. I did pick them to make the playoffs in the offseason.
You got a little hyped when Cam Newton signed. That was the one exception.
And, even after the Seattle game, I felt pretty good about him. But at the same time, as soon as this season started progressing, I said, this is probably not a playoff team. And even though they had shots 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was like, this team's probably not going to make it. I don't think they're good enough. You can't go into these games being unable to stop the run, which they weren't again. They gave up 250 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Tua wasn't very good in this one, and the secondary is still really good, but if you're going to give up 6 yards a carry, you're going to lose. Cam Newton still can't really throw the ball downfield. I thought Jacoby Myers was really good. Everyone else kind of stunk. But, hey, season's over, looking towards a rebuild.
Yeah, hey, there's always next year, Kyle.
Yeah. Woe is me. Tough year for Boston sports fans. We'll bounce back.
Yes. Wild. Just to put it into perspective, your team has made the playoffs 11 straight years. My team hasn't made the playoffs in 2007, and I'm still sitting here. And I gotta say, this was an incredible season for the Patriots. I tip my cap to what they were able to do. They weren't able to get it done. 6-8 now, not gonna make the playoffs, clinched out. I still think this is a hell of a run. I think Bill Belichick deserves a lot of credit. This team was decimated. You somehow gave up 122 yards to Salvin Ahmed. So get it together. But at the same time, this was a great run to make it to this point. And also the Dolphins on the flip side. Hey, this is a huge win. You got to stick the dagger into the hearts of the dragon right here.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to make the playoffs, these are the games you have to win, and they're able to pull this one out after losing this. They lost to this team, I think, 21-11 week 1, and then it was 22-12 in week 15. Really
Okay.
weirdly, but yeah,
That's
I
funny.
mean, they were. Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to come in and win games like this. Lynn Bowden coming in and making some big plays at the receiving game. We mentioned the running game, pretty much just eviscerating this team. Um, yeah, I mean, Dolphins look like a playoff team, but I don't know. I still feel like that they might be out of it based on schedule because they got to edge out the Ravens, and I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, because they have to beat the Raiders and the Bills probably, so they have to keep winning. But this is a big win for them. And again, for the Dolphins, it's almost like play as many meaningful games for Tua as you can. I got to talk about the interception for Tua. That's the classic definition of a rookie mistake, right? Of my receiver is better than your cornerback. In the NFL, it's not always the case.
Yeah, and J.C. Jackson's a really good cornerback too.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to say this, but he has 8 interceptions this year. He has 10 takeaways for the season. The guy's an absolute stud. I don't think Bill Belichick. The worst part about the N'Keal Harry draft was in the second round we took Jawan Williams in the second round, and he's a defensive back that doesn't play for us. We should never draft a defensive back ever again because our defensive backs right now are Jonathan Jones and J.C. Jackson when Stephon Gilmore's out, both undrafted rookies. And the other guy we had too before we cut him was Kenny Moore, who's a stud in Indianapolis. So we should never draft a cornerback. But just a rough season.
Yeah, I agree. And, it was also an Isaiah Ford revenge game.
I guess so.
Yes. What a wild story, right? I got that right? So Isaiah Ford, he got traded to the Patriots for like a late round pick, and then just they cut him, and he rejoined the Dolphins to play in this game and get like 10 yards.
Yeah, we traded him for a 7th round pick from next season.
Yes. All right. Well, it'll be hard to rebuild without that 7th round pick. Let's move on. The Patriots probably will never be good again. All right. Let's talk some balls. Hey, I mean, so here's how I want to approach this, right? Because everyone's going to talk, hey, Seattle, you got to score more than 20 points. Yes, it was a good defense. But you're playing Washington, you're a better team, got to win by more than that. I want to talk positives about Seattle. Their secondary was great in this one, and it really shut down, like Terry McLaurin's a good receiver. I know it's Washington, but there were 2 interceptions that Dwayne Haskins threw, and both of them were because there was nobody open for so long stretches of the game, and Haskins just got frustrated and threw those plays, which he shouldn't do, but that's credit to Seattle's secondary. They've improved in a massive way, and this is a team that is, they've improved defensively to a large degree. You talked about who in the NFC looks great. Seattle's not a team I want to deal with as a Buccaneers fan.
Yeah,
or as any fan.
Yeah, I mean, this defense is really coming along, even when the offense has regressed, which I continue to say it should be expected that the offense was going to regress from their early season performance. Nobody's going to play that well week in and week out. I mean, this team, with the way this defense is playing, this is kind of like the team that, with the way this defense is playing, it's kind of the team that I projected to make the Super Bowl. If the offense plays a little better, it definitely will. Which, by the way, if you don't understand the balls reference week 15 of the season, get with it, man. Come on now.
I mean, I still don't understand it. I'm still not sure why we do it.
So just great job from the Seahawks defense. And if Dwayne Haskins is throwing 55 times in the game, someone has to get fired.
Right. No, I mean, so to the credit of the football team, they figured out how to attack the Seattle defense later in the game, which was it was really just dinking and dunking, taking underneath stuff. They figured it out, which is, that's Alex Smith. He, he has wet dreams about dinking and dunking for yards. But I do think that if with Alex Smith, I think this is a different game. I think Alex Smith doesn't make those dumb decisions that result in turnovers. I think that it is a different game. But yeah, I'm not going to say Haskins played poor, but he played like Dwayne Haskins, and I do think it's a different scenario if they have their starting quarterback in here.
Yeah, I mean, they were also down 20-3 at one point, so maybe that's why they open it up a little bit. But at the same time, I don't know. They're still in pole position to win this division. They just need to win one more game. They have a winnable game against Carolina next week, so you feel good about that. And you could say easily that the Seahawks offense should score more points. This Washington defense is really good. It's in the top 10 of the league right now. So you can't necessarily say that this is a complete disaster. This defense is just really good that they went up against, and they out defended them.
Yeah, and I mean for Washington, yeah, Carolina and Philadelphia, they only have to win one of those games. They probably will, unless the Giants somehow beat the Ravens next week. Probably they just need one more win. But they just held Russell Wilson to the Blaine Gabbert zone. He had under 5 yards per attempt in this one. I mean, I do think that Russell Wilson is a different quarterback when he can't throw the ball deep. He did get a deep shot or two in there, but for the most part, if he can't get these 25-yard pass plays, he becomes a different quarterback because that's what he's so great at, and you can take away what he's great at.
Yeah, and I think that's something that this Washington defense has actually done a terrific job of. I thought, going into the season with this defensive line, I kind of thought this defense would be more of a turnover-prone defense, and they really haven't been that. They've just been really sound and keep everything in front of them and just make really good plays. And you saw it in this one where Russell Wilson didn't have really the opportunity to take shots. He's always going to look to take the shots, but if they're not there, he's going to make the right play, and they just weren't there.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm not totally sure that Russell Wilson's going to win MVP now.
Yeah, you think he's out now?
I think he might be. That was just it said. He's going to be favorite next year. He's going to be the favorite again. Everyone wants Russell Wilson to win an MVP.
Maybe Chris Collinsworth will have a vote by next year.
Yes, exactly. All right, let's move on. Let's talk Eagles Cardinals. So this was the perfect way this game could have ended for me because Jalen Hurts looked great in this one. Or I mean, he had his moments. He looked like a rookie at the beginning, but he definitely did a lot better than Wentz would have done. And also, the Eagles lost, and you picked the Cardinals. So for our picks, this works out both ways for Jackson, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. DeAndre Hopkins went off. Kyler Murray went off. I want to start with Jalen Hurts because he's awesome. He did put the ball on the ground a couple times today. He didn't lose any, I believe, but he did put the ball on the ground a couple times. But, even though it's not perfect and, it's probably going to take a few years for it to be perfect, there's definitely more to feel good about from Hurts than there is about Wentz ever was this season. So you feel really good about his performance and you feel really good that this team competed. Unfortunately, you're probably going to miss the playoffs now losing this game.
It's not over, right? You need a Washington loss to Carolina, and if that happens, it's actually you have a really good shot because you'll play Dallas next week. You should win that, and you play Washington. So I wouldn't say it's over. I think they need something that's not likely, but can still happen. I would say I don't know. I'll say 30% chance week 17 Philadelphia is fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't know. I feel like Washington is going to win that next game, though. I could be wrong, but it's just such a weird team. I don't know. This team is 15th in DVOA for defense and 16th in DVOA for special teams. But you can't be the 23rd best defense in DVOA and expect to compete, especially in 2020. You need to have that offense performance. Turning the ball over and over again obviously killed you for many weeks of the season. Do you think they regret not putting Hurts in earlier?
Yeah, well, if Doug Peterson gets fired at the end of the season, he definitely will. Clearly Hurts is the better quarterback. And, you and I were kind of beating the table of draft Hurts. Hurts is good. Hurts is going to go in the second round. He's going to be a big asset here. I think Hurts is really good. And I think that what he's shown in he had over 400 total yards in this one. He was incredible. And the Eagles get blown out if they have Carson Wentz in this game. He kept them in it. They had a shot, and this is a 4-9-1 team. This team shouldn't have any business contending for a playoff spot, quite frankly. And the only reason why I find them interesting is because they have a really good quarterback that even they weren't that confident in.
Yeah. Yeah, just a weird thing for Philly. Give credit to Arizona. They had to win this game.
Mhm.
They had to be able to pull this one out and continue to keep that game lead over Chicago. They were able to do it. Are they still way too reliant on two guys for their entire offense? Absolutely, but they're able to win the game.
Well, yeah, and I'd rather be reliant on a couple of guys to win an offense than try to not give it to those guys and lose. Like Hopkins getting a nice 169 yards through the air and a touchdown. He was incredible this one. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is the best receiver in football. I said earlier, should we put Tyreek Hill in that conversation? I was wrong. Hopkins is the best. Hopkins is incredible. He's, in my opinion, maybe it's a little bit early to say it. I think he's going to be wearing a gold jacket before it's all said and done. I think this guy is men amongst boys.
I feel like this is a change week to week. 1 week it's Devontae Adams, 1 week it's Tyreek Hill, 1 week it's DeAndre Hopkins.
Well, that's what's
The
great.
true answer is it's probably Michael Thomas when he's playing.
Well, that's what's great about our job, Kyle, is no one listens to old shows, so we can just live in them. That's what I've realized is I try to not overreact. The best move is just overreact every week. Say a new guy is the best every week because people don't listen to old shows. Just do that.
So after his performance against the dynamic Dolphins secondary, is Jacoby Myers a top 5 or top 6 NFL receiver right now?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, right. No, I mean, I don't know. I think that let's just say this: he's elite, and who knows? Maybe the Cardinals could get a second rounder for him in the offseason.
Yeah. Yeah. A second round and a beat up running back.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott and a second round pick for DeAndre Hopkins. Who says no?
Right. All right. The Bill O'Brien jokes will never stop. Sorry, Texans fans. Let's move on. Sorry, Raiders fans.
Oof.
This was.
I can't say it enough. Ugh.
I'll let you go ahead. You take the floor. You're a Raiders hater. You go ahead.
Oh my gosh. This is the official Las Vegas Raiders podcast. How dare you? This game made me want to vomit. Honestly, I wanted to throw up in the middle of this game. This was so disgusting at the end of it. Both of these teams at the very end. Anthony Lynn tried by tooth and nail to lose this football game and managed to pull out victory from the jaws of defeat. I don't understand. Just disgusting how this went down. I'm still mad about this 4 days after the fact. Just completely egregious. The Raiders completely blew this. And where do you want me to start? So I guess I'll just talk about the Raiders. This is why you invest in a backup quarterback. Marcus Mariota was very good. I don't want to make it an indictment on on Derek Carr, but up until that bad interception throw, this offense didn't look that much different. But at the same time, he did make the bad interception throw, which, if it was any other quarterback, would have been returned for a touchdown. But because Mariota is actually a really good athlete, it wasn't. Just a bad performance overall from the Raiders. They still can't stop anybody. Shockingly, Rod Marinelli couldn't, fix this in a week. You can't let Herbert start 9 of 11 and expect to win a football game. It's just that simple. Just an awful game.
Yeah, listen. So I'm probably as big of a John Gruden fan as it gets, right? Like he won my team at Super Bowl when I first got into football. He was the head coach of my team. I'm currently wearing a Spider 3Y Banana Raiders hoodie, right? Which you can get at Brett Coleman's store. He's another YouTuber. I'm a big John Gruden fan. At a certain point, you got to find someone who can get this defense together. He's a fine offensive coordinator, offensive-minded coach. He's a good offensive-minded coach. I don't love his game management decisions, but yeah, this defense was horrible, and there were wide open guys constantly throughout the course of this game. They're basically just playing a blanket cover 2 zone this whole game, and their own players didn't understand the rules for their zone coverage. They had no clue what was going on. Everyone was going crazy about Herbert, but I could have made half those throws. This was terrible for this defense. Corey Littleton, who was a great player for the Rams, has looked awful for the Raiders. They deserve a lot of blame. I thought Mariota was fine. I thought Mariota, he missed a few throws that Carr wouldn't have missed. I thought he's a good backup, no doubt about it. And he added something in the running game that obviously Carr doesn't, which I like how they pulled that out there, which you don't often see when someone comes in relief to sort of change the game plan to some degree. But as a whole, No excuses for the Raiders. You can't say, well, Carr was hurt. No, you got to win this game. The Raiders, they blew it, and John Gruden continues to struggle. This is the third season in a row now. In this last quarter of the season, his teams have fallen apart, and you got to get it together, because if you don't get it together soon, you might not get another chance.
Yeah, and I will talk about the refs because I know Raiders fans love to bring up the refs. They didn't lose the game because of the refs, but the Hunter Renfrow non-call combined with the Nick Kwiatkowski head to that helmet hit was pretty egregious. But
I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care. Win the game. You're playing the Chargers. It shouldn't come down to 2 calls.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, I don't know. And so Anthony Lynn, after his quarterback was 9-11 for over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half, threw the ball one time in the fourth quarter. One time.
Yeah.
Just completely awful. That's one of the worst coaching jobs I've ever seen in a win. He was playing for a field goal when his kicker couldn't kick. I couldn't believe it.
And on the flip side, I thought that John Gruden, so it's 4th down and 5 in overtime. You got to go for it there. Like, why are you putting the game in the hands of your? I did a video. I mentioned it. Like, the analytics say you go for it there. He decides not to. Try and win the football game. Don't rely on your defense.
Mm-hmm. And then another thing about the Raiders too. Talking about that secondary, we've liked some of the young pieces on it. I don't think Abrams played, as someone mentioned, but he's been up and down this year. Trayvon Mullen, calm down a little, man. Just absolutely killer. That was just brutal from him. I mean, I don't know. I felt like before the season, this team was a year away, and I think they surprised me. But at the same time, this defense has definitely made it easy to say this team's a year away, because this defense just isn't it. It isn't it. I mean, maybe with the new coordinator, some of these guys figured it out. But I guess my question with the Raiders was, I hate to give too much credit for one skill position guy, but what's this Raiders record without Darren Waller?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm with you. I think that their offensive line is great. I mean, they'll point to Trent Williams was hurt for a large part of the season. He was back this game. Their offensive line had some issues, but yeah, I mean, for me, I think what I don't like about the Raiders is I just don't love how this team is constructed. I don't love let's take long drives and there wasn't many possessions in this game. I think the Raiders had 7 or 8 possessions, and that's not how you want to attack a team you should beat. You want more possessions, because the less possessions, the bigger chance of an upset. Yeah. And also the bigger chance that Mariota will throw a turnover and things like that. I don't know. It's frustrating. I had high hopes for the Raiders this season, and it's disappointing to see them once again sort of fall off here. And I do feel like if they get a defensive coordinator, this could be a very different team, but I don't know. Yeah. It's just frustrating.
I mean, this offense is the equivalent of Barcelona. So I can throw my weekly soccer reference. Barcelona plays a particular passing style where it's slow build-up possession style. They have to control the ball basically 70% of the game to win the game, because that's how they play possession. And it's a perfect, every goal involves 12 perfectly placed passes that leads to a goal. So every goal has to be perfectly placed. This is kind of how this offense builds. It's slow and methodical, but when it works, it looks beautiful and explosive. But there's points where it just completely stagnates at times because they're trying to run the ball or throw it behind the line of scrimmage for 5 straight plays.
Yeah, no. This is, for the Chargers, hey, Justin Herbert's awesome. I know we didn't talk about you guys too much, but I mean, that's pretty much all needs to be said about the Chargers. Hey, you have an awesome quarterback, and maybe after you get a new kick. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Speaking of, I mean, listen, one of the things about the Titans, so Titans-Lions, I feel like the Titans' offense has been really underrated, and to some degree. They've had a ridiculous offense, and when their offense has bad days, it's still mediocre. This is a ridiculous offense, and yeah, their defense hasn't been great, but we do probably deserve. We have probably been sleeping on this offense a little bit. Credit to you. You had the Titans covering a 10-point spread in our pick'em. What did you see from this one?
Yeah, I nailed this one. This was, I said, I think I said they're going to score 40 points, so it doesn't matter what the line is. They scored 46, so I was pretty close. The emergence of Jonnu Smith and Corey Davis have just added so many dimensions. It was kind of a 3-horse person team on offense, adding those two guys and letting them play at such a high level is nuts.
Mhm.
Just having there, it's almost undefendable at times, especially with the way this Lions team plays. You can't cover all three of those guys and worry about Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and Corey Davis has had more receiving yards this year than AJ Brown. He's been, which is crazy. That's a huge asset, and he was someone who, obviously, because of his draft position, has been kind of a disappointment. But he's played really well this year, and obviously, at the end of the day, the Lions couldn't stop Derrick Henry. 6.1 yards per carry on 24 carries, 147 yards, and Ryan Tannehill passing the Brett Favre zone, getting 273 yards on 27 attempts. This offense is lethal. It really is. And the Titans have a chance to beat any team, just like last season when they were able to upset a few teams in the playoffs. I wouldn't be shocked to see them do it again this year.
Yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry's going to threaten the 1,800-yard mark for the season. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's just nuts. You could argue that Tannehill's having another career year after last year. It's just absolutely insane. Like I don't want to play this team in the playoffs if I'm anybody in the AFC because they could drop 50 on me in a heartbeat. Um, but hey, listen, the defense is still a concern. But at the same time, if this team's going to score like this, they're going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, and Derrick Henry currently at 1,690 and 79 yards. I mean, there's an outside shot he could get 2,000, although that seems tough. Yeah, I agree. And for the Lions, I mean, this is Matt Stafford's good. Again, the Lions, it's a lost season. We kind of know it, but for the Titans, good job. They showed up as they've been continuing to show up, and like I said, they're a team that you just don't want to face. So yeah, any final thoughts on this one?
Uh, it was a nice DeAndre Swift game. He's had a couple of them. He's shown glimpses of the guy who was drafted pretty highly. I do want to give credit to Matt Stafford because once again, playing through injuries, this guy has basically just run it through a wall for this Detroit franchise, and they haven't given him the credit that's due. The guy's just a tank for this team, and it's a shame that this has been his career basically.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Moochie Studio, great question in the chat. Bro, why don't they just tackle Derrick Henry? That's a great question, Kyle.
Yeah, I'll go in there and tackle Derrick Henry. I'm in.
Yeah, okay. Well, you might be the only one. Let's move on. Uh how about the Ravens? I mean, I feel like no team is more entertaining in a blowout than the Baltimore Ravens blowing out another team.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
I mean, well,
I don't know.
they get the splash plays. They're able to get this. And for one thing, do the Ravens have a receiving core? I mean, we saw Marquise Brown had a couple big plays. How about Des Bryant with a touchdown catch? That was a good one. The receiving core,
But,
maybe the best game they've had.
I mean, at the same time, though, like you look at it, Des Bryant was their second leading wide receiver for one catch, 11 yards, and a touchdown. I mean,
That's
because
still the best game they've had.
after Brown, it was Andrews for 5 for 66, Edwards for 2 for 36, and Dobbins for 1 for 17. I mean, look, this team's come alive. They've scored 40 points a game in their last, I think, 4 games now since everyone thought they were dead. So they've come alive a little. I mean, they're not exactly playing the cream of the crop, but this is exactly what this offense needed to kind of come alive and play well. So credit to them.
Kyle, don't ruin my hype train. I want to get excited about the Ravens.
Okay, you can get it. I mean, look, they've played good football.
Yeah.
They're playing nobodies, but they played good football. So
How dare you? The disrespect to the Jaguars.
okay, they've played atrocious football teams. No, I mean, look, they've beaten their last 3 games where they've looked good. They did beat the Browns, which was a good win. But they beat the Jaguars and the Cowboys. So I mean, I am going to hold out everything I say about the Ravens until the playoffs because they do kind of have a cookie cutter schedule to the end of the season. But like I said, this team needed a turnaround on offense, and maybe they came into the right opponents at the right time to kind of turn this around and kind of tune it up.
I mean, I guess I still think there's something to be said about a team that can. Something to be said about winning 40-14. Like I think you're playing an easy team to beat, but the Jaguars have been they were lost to one score against the Packers. They were competitive against the Vikings. Like they've had some moments. I think there's something to be said about winning 40-14.
No, I agree. It was a good win. That's all I'm going to say about it, really. It was
Okay.
a good win. They did their job.
All right, fine. We'll talk more about the Ravens maybe next week when we preview their next game. They got a good schedule for their favor. Texans Colts. How did this happen again? How did the Texans lose in the exact same way? A fumble at the goal line 2 times in 3 weeks against the exact same team. Are they cursed? What's going on?
Is it the curse of DeAndre Hopkins? Is that what this is?
I think the curse of Bill O'Brien because they fired him.
It could be. Hey, the 2 games were weirdly 26-20 and 27-20 too. So,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Very weird thing. Deshaun Watson's still really awesome, by the way. I think he set his career high for touchdowns, didn't he? Is that what I saw?
I haven't heard that, but that seems right. I mean, he's had an incredible season this year. In this game, another 373 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Yeah, I mean, and this is without, the best receiver in football.
Yeah, that was passing touchdowns, by the way. He just got 27, which was higher than his previous career high. But yeah, I mean, Colts managed to pull it out again. But yeah, they continue to mess around with this Texans team. I don't know if it's just because it's a divisional game and these 2 teams play weird games all the time, and Watson's good enough to keep them in it. But yeah, they continue to mess around with this team.
Yeah, I also have to say, I know I'm late on this take, but my favorite thing is Jacoby Brissett coming in as sort of like their Taysom Hill. Going from like the 32nd fastest quarterback in the NFL to like the 25th fastest quarterback in the NFL. It's fantastic.
Well, he's literally just the QB sneak guy, isn't he? And it's because Phillip Rivers hates him, right?
Is that? I mean, he's done other plays besides quarterback sneaks, but is that what it is? I haven't heard the Phillip Rivers.
The theory I've heard is that Phillip Rivers hates quarterback sneaks because he got injured once in like high school or college, and so he hates doing them, and that's why he refuses to do it, and that's why Brissett comes in.
Okay, well,
I'm gonna look this up. You can keep talking about this game real quick. I'm gonna look it up.
Okay, yeah. I don't have David Johnson somehow had over 100 yards receiving in this one. The big thing about this one was I feel like the ending, but for the Colts, I mean, again, you're keeping pace with the Titans. You got to do that. They play the Pittsburgh Steelers next week and the Jaguars the week after. So if they can win next week, 12-4 record probably, but realistically looking at 11-5, they're a good football team. And, I think that Frank Reich, I've said this before, I think he deserves some consideration for Coach of the Year. He's done an incredible job with this team.
Yeah, no, he's done a really good job with the Colts. He's masterminded this game plan. I think he's just such a creative offensive play caller, I think. And he's maximizing the talent that's on that team. He's keeping Rivers on his feet and keeping him upright, which is important because he's not a very mobile guy. So I think it's important, and he's done a really good job with this team. So he gets a lot of credit. I did find an answer that apparently he has the lowest amount of QB sneaks in the NFL, but it doesn't say why. But
okay. All right. Well, maybe
a story about college.
Yeah, maybe next week we'll when we have more time, we can talk about that. All right, let's talk about the last Sunday game, then we'll get into the Saturday games. The Cowboys beat the 49ers. I got to be honest, I didn't have too much of a close look on this one, although I do I kept somewhat of an eye on it. This was a surprise to me. I thought San Francisco would win this one, but Dallas got off to a hot start and were really able to control it from there.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of felt like the time for the 49ers to kind of be put down, didn't it? Like, it's just kind of time for them to end this season and move on. It's been a difficult year for them. The injuries haven't helped. But hey, the Cowboys put 41 points on them. That probably shouldn't happen very often with the state of this Cowboys team. So I just felt like kind of it for San Francisco. It seemed like they kind of just rolled over and died.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see exactly what happened here because the Dallas Cowboys scored 41 points. They had only 291 total yards in this one. So kind of a weird, just an odd game as a whole. I know there was turnovers that play, but yeah, Nick Mullins threw 2 picks. I think what this game probably showed more than, again, I haven't watched the whole game, so I don't know. But I think that what this season has shown as a whole is that San Francisco, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's helpful for them.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it was what, 2 interceptions in the second half, and it was 27-24 until Cowboys whipped off 2 touchdown plays off of a kickoff return and a touchdown after an interception. So there's your answer to how they scored 41 points. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the answer for this team next year. I don't see how that changes.
Yeah, and I mean, Dallas technically still has a chance, but they don't really have a chance. This is one of the games I picked incorrectly. One of the few. I'm usually pretty great. Every now and then, get a wrong one.
Yeah, I guess you're okay.
All right. Any final thoughts on this one?
Cowboys still technically in it too. Everyone in the NFC East is still alive 2 weeks ago.
Crazy. All right, let's move on. How about your Buffalo Bills dethroning Kyle? Finally, they have won the AFC East. Cool feeling for everyone who is not a Patriots fan.
Oh man, they've been so obnoxious with it too. Like, oh my god.
What do you mean? Well, what's obnoxious?
Bills fans are just in their faces. I saw a meme going around of Josh Allen digging the Patriots' grave. Like, get out of here, man. Win 6 Super Bowls before you come talk to us. How's that sound? No, I mean, they played well, though.
Sounds very arrogant and very, very not understanding your audience. I think that's how that sounds.
That's okay.
Okay.
Josh Allen played really well. He's put himself in the MVP conversation, especially when at times Mahomes and Rodgers didn't look awesome this week. I do think it's a 3-horse race now. I think he's in there. He was really good in this one, completely eviscerated this team. Denver had no hope. Yeah, I mean, Cole Beasley's just all of a sudden emerged into this like complete force. He was always good, but I don't remember him ever being like this good. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I have to say about this team. This team is a force.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills' offense is awesome. And for Denver, I mean, you got to find a way to get more than 5 receptions for wide receivers. I mean, that you have too many weapons to have that happen. And this was a massive step backward. And I wouldn't be shocked to see Denver. Again, I've said I feel like for the whole second half of the season, it's Vic Fangio has shown enough to say you can keep him. He's shown enough to say that you can get rid of him. I think personally, get a new quarterback and keep Fangio, because I think that I like what his offenses have done, even though the 48 points isn't great. But I still feel like, his defenses have done. I still feel like defenses have been better if they just had some semblance of an offense to work with.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's unfair to a defense to expect to be good when, Drew Lock is not moving the football. If he's not moving the football, turning it over, and putting a defense in bad positions, no defense is going to look good. You could have the best defensive coordinator in the league, best defensive coach, best defense. But if your offense isn't putting you in position to succeed, you're never going to win.
Yeah. And that's all I have to say about Denver. But yeah, for the Bills, I mean, this is not, Josh Allen has silenced all the critics. Everyone agrees that he's good now, where no one, most people in the media didn't think he was good beforehand, you and I included. Zach Moss had 6.2 yards per carry. Devin Singletary had 8.5 yards per carry in this one. And, this Bills team, no one wants to play them in the playoffs. They're a good team. And I disagree. I think celebrate it up, because it's been a long time. And for Bills fans, they deserve it because it has been a while. And they deserve to celebrate, because there's plenty of diehard Bills fans who've been fans all their life who have never been an adult when they've seen their team win a division, let alone win a Super Bowl, because no one's seen the Bills win a Super Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, I agree. They've put it together. This offense is going to be really tough to beat in the playoffs. Them in Tennessee, I think, are kind of in the same boat. Their defense is a lot better. They've played a lot better throughout the season and have really come along. But yeah, I mean, with the way Allen's playing, it's going to be tough to stop this team. I think that is this your number one competitor to Kansas City right now in the AFC?
Maybe unpopular opinion, but I kind of still feel like Baltimore. I feel like in that matchup, I feel like Baltimore is the kind of team that can outscore Kansas City in one game.
I can agree with that. I'd be okay with that. But yeah, I mean, Can they now? The question is, can they keep the Dolphins out of the playoffs? But I mean, I don't think it matters. I think this team might end up the 2 seed still. They got to jump Pittsburgh one more time, but I think they can do it.
The Bills are really good, and the Bills absolutely. I think they put themselves in Super Bowl contender status. I think this is the team that has an opportunity. They have a really good offense. I still want to see what Josh Allen does in the playoffs, though, because he got a little flustered last year, and he's a different quarterback this year. I want to see what he does this year in postseason football.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm excited to he could easily go into his first postseason game and turn the ball over 3 times, and everyone's going to say, "I told you so." But at the same time, the strides he's made this year and some of the throws he makes, nobody saw this from Josh Allen the last 2 years. The arm's always been fantastic, but the accuracy hasn't been there like it is this year.
Yeah, and I know he's changed his just fundamentals as a whole, which again is kind of crazy when guys in the NFL basically completely change their fundamentals, but it's worked. So give him a lot of credit. We'll see what they can do the rest of the season. And finally, the number 1 seed in the NFC, Green Bay, defeating the Panthers. Again, this is the game that I think we expected to go this way. Carolina continues their long streak of losing to teams by 1 score, and Green Bay. They get a victory, maybe not necessarily the way that you want, not by the margin you wanted, but a win is a win. And when Aaron Jones averages 7.2 yards per carry, you'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, Rodgers was pissed after the game, basically just saying this isn't going to get the second half performance isn't going to get it done in the playoffs. I do think you're a little concerned after that. What was it? I'm trying to do math in my head. I'm an English major. 13-3 performance, outscored by the Panthers in the second half. They were up 21-3 though, and gave themselves the cushion. But yeah, that second half was pretty ugly from both sides. Didn't love watching that second half all too much, but hey, they got it done and got the win.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the Green Bay Packers to a T, right? They win games. It might not. This is the Matt LaFleur Packers. They win a bunch of games. It might not always look pretty, but again, this is back-to-back weeks now where they beat the Lions by a score. They beat the Carolina by a score. They play Tennessee next week though, and that'll be sort of an interesting test. I think this Packers team is good. I really do. I think their offense is really good, and they could have been better in the second half, but I feel like we nitpicked the great teams, and I think they're a great team, and that's why they're getting nitpicked.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they're putting a lot of it together. I think they're going to be a good football team, and I continue to say it, having that number 1 seed, it doesn't necessarily matter this year as much, but having it in Lambeau is going to be a big thing, especially getting that first round bye. I do want to give a shout out. One guy who I think if his team was better would be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. Brian Burns is a menace. He is such a monster. Really fun to watch this year. His team just stinks. And I don't want to say it stinks. That's a little unfair. I think Rule has done a good job with this team. This was a team that I picked at the beginning of the season to finish with the worst record in football because it's, especially with McCaffrey out, it's just completely devoid of a lot of talent. So 4 wins, I feel like is still an accomplishment for this team, competing with a lot of these teams, but he just doesn't have a lot of talent around him.
Yeah, I love this comment in the chat. Owen Thixton, Rodgers is just a jerk. I don't know exactly what that's referring to, but I love it. All right, well, that's it for the games. As always, we're gonna do our top 5 and bottom 5. I'll start off with the top 5. Number 5, Baker Mayfield, continuing his incredible streak. Really having a great season. Everyone feels like everyone's changed their opinion on him. Number 4, I have Bills Mafia. So you disagree with this one, but hey, jump through tables, guys. This was a big win. You guys deserve it. I think getting the victory, very cool feeling. Trust me, as a Buccaneers fan, I'm very much looking forward to my team getting a playoff berth. You guys won the division, not even just a playoff berth. And, after the evil empire, very cool. Number 3, I have people who hate the Falcons because the Falcons memes at full force in this one. So I think number 3, the top 3 is the people who love to see the Falcons in pain. Number 2, I have Jacksonville Jaguars fans looking like you're going to get Trevor Lawrence. That's got to be great. And number 1, I have New York Jets fans, because there's nothing Jets fans love more than to complain. That's my top 5 for Week 15.
I was thinking number one would be Jets players, not Jets fans, but that's pretty good.
Uh-huh.
All right, so I guess we'll transition here to my bottom 5.
Yes.
So my number 5 here, the Ezekiel Elliott contract continues to look worse and worse. Tony Pollard was pretty good in this game,
Yeah.
and like
Who saw that coming?
yeah, exactly.
Paying a running back.
Well, Derrick Henry is trying to keep the running back contracts alive. Ezekiel Elliott's just destroying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tony Pollard was good, which hurts Elliott and his value going forward. Number 4 is me. I am on the list at number 4 because 4 weeks ago I said David Montgomery's trash, and since then he's had 3 of his 4 games of over 100 yards, and he has 6 touchdowns in those 4 games. So I stink because I said David Montgomery stinks. Number 3, the Patriots trying to stop the run is disgusting. Salvin Ahmed just destroyed New England's playoff hopes. Slim playoff hopes, but playoff hopes. Number 2 is probably the first time our top 5 and bottom 5 had intertwined. The city of Atlanta is number 2. Okay. I don't know what it is, but you need help, man. You need some real help. And number 1 for my list is, I think I'm saying this right, Stan Kroenke. Stan Kroenke is the owner for the Kroenke. Thank you. He is the owner for a whole ton of teams. He also owns a cattle ranch in Texas. Fun fact. So his 2 teams playing this weekend were the Rams, who lost to the winless New York Jets. They lost to a team that hadn't won a football game and everyone thought was a shoo-in to go on 16. His other major team that played this weekend was Arsenal. Now, Arsenal spent $167 million this offseason in the transfer window. That was the second most in the Premier League, $167 million. They're currently in 15th place, 4 points ahead of the relegation line that could get relegated down to the English League Championship. So Stan Kroenke destroying Arsenal. His Rams team shit the bed. He's my number 1.
Yeah. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, Stan Kroenke.
Is he a bad guy?
Well, people don't love how he moved the Rams out of St. Louis.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, people don't love him in Arsenal town or in London either because he's basically using Arsenal as a cash cow and destroying the club, but that's a different conversation.
Yes. Dark Legend says, why was Des Bryant not in the top 5? The answer is because I'm not good at this segment. That would have been a much better choice. But yeah, so that's our show. Thank you to everyone who watched. We always appreciate it. Kyle, do you have anything to plug at the end of this one?
Yeah, go ahead and throw it towards my Twitter account once again. That's at by Kyle Grondin, at by Kyle Grondin, by Kyle Grondin on Twitter. I am unfiltered, uncut, and mildly entertaining on Twitter. So make sure to follow me there.
Yes, I like that. Mildly entertaining. I think that's our slogan for the podcast. Mildly entertaining.
Mildly entertaining podcast here.
Yes. I see the chat. He's right. Arsenal is terrible right now after all the hype. So.
I'm right every now and then, so
yeah, every now and then you get one. All right, thank you to everyone. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week. So it's Tuesday, correct? Tuesday,
yes,
we'll be there.
We're going to be on Tuesday next week because I got to fly for Christmas. So sorry to mess up everyone's thing, but Tuesday.
Yeah, so Tuesday, 9:00, same time, just different date. Definitely make sure you check in there. We'll also talk about the Steelers-Bengals game and all of the excitement that I'm sure will happen tomorrow. And until next time, have a good one.
Peace.